Communities empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Live from historic Lamert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.com. That's thetavismiley.com. And listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today in our second hour.
In the darkness of despair, where your fears grow deep inside, and no one seems to care, and all your hope has nearly died. Well, I believe in you, and I know that you will shine, to show us the way you will shine. To show it's okay, you will shine forever and ever and ever and evermore.
Grammy-nominated R&B soul vocalist and activist Aloe Blacc joins us live in studio in hour two to talk about his new album. It's called Stand Together. That track is called Shine. We'll talk to Aloe Blacc in our second hour. In our third hour today, another in our series of conversations with noted philosophers who hopefully can help us process and better navigate this bizarre period of American history. Today, Professor Tim Golden of Whitman College. But we commence today's show talking politics with our regular contributor, the distinguished civil rights attorney and towering public intellectual Connie Rice, one of my favorites. Connie, how are you?
Hey, Tavis, I'm holding steady and getting ready. How are you?
I like that. Holding steady and getting ready. You know me. I say all the time, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate, and that is true. But these are some grim moments. I digress on that for now. Let me just give me 2 minutes, Connie, to set this up, and I'll let you loose for the rest of the hour. We've been tracking this story, as you know, Connie, every day. Regarding this signal drama, Signal Gate, as they're calling it. Jeffrey Goldberg from the Atlantic magazine gets invited into this Signal chat. And again, this audience knows for the last few days we've been talking about this, since I don't need to really unpack what the story is all about. But this story has a new angle to it now. And I've been waiting on this. This is so Trumpian that you knew it was going to come. So, Mr. Walls, Mike Walls is the golden boy in the Defense Department. When you look at the resumes of Mike Walls versus Pete Hegseth, there's no question that Walls should have been chosen over Hegseth. There's no question when you look at their resumes. As I've said many times, Pete Hegseth has no business being the Secretary of Defense, and you see all these errors he keeps making that underscore the fact that he ain't ready for prime time. So Walls is the National Security Advisor, not the Defense Secretary. And you've seen all these calls increasingly over the last few days for Walls to step down from his position. Donald Trump has stood by Mike Walls steadfastly. You recall we talked yesterday. He called Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic a total sleazebag. That's your president calling a reporter who was invited into this chat a total sleazebag. The Atlantic would never have released all those texts yesterday had the administration not called them. They called their bluff. They called it a hoax. Remember that? They called it a hoax. They basically called Jeffrey Goldberg and The Atlantic liars. And you got to give The Atlantic credit. Unlike everybody else in the media who's bending the knee, The Atlantic put Trump on Front Street yesterday. They called his bluff. And they released all those text messages, you recall, that we discussed at the opening of this show yesterday. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. You knew these dirtbags, you knew the Trump administration was going to strike back some sort of way. They found this guy named Alex Wong, who works for Mr. Walls. It was Mr. Walls, clearly, who invited Jeffrey Goldberg into this Signal chat. But who are they now blaming? This young Asian brother named Alex Wong. And they're trying to advance this argument now that he is the one who added Jeffrey Goldberg to the Signal chat. There's just no truth to it. If you read Jeffrey Goldberg's story, you see all the text, you see the entire thread. It was Mike Walls clearly who invited Jeffrey Goldberg into that chat. But I told you yesterday, somebody's head is going to roll. And they have found their DEI candidate. It just happens to be a person of color. In this case, not a black person, but an Asian person. His name is Alex Wong. I invite you right now to just Google the name Alex Wong. And you will see this story starting to brew literally as we speak. They are going to do their best to sacrifice this young man, Alex Wong, who's on the staff of Mike Walls, so they can save Mr. Walls' hide. Here again, another example where they attack DE&I and tell folk that this person did it. They were not qualified, they were not responsible, etc., but they're looking for a scapegoat. And it appears that Mr. Wong may, in fact, be the scapegoat. This story is literally just developing, but I wanted to start our conversation today with that bit of news because you knew that they were going to try to put this on somebody because Walls is not going to be forced to step down, at least not yet. This story has taken a whole nother turn, which plays again into their DE&I playbook. I'll let Connie loose for the rest of the hour when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check that your seats aren't in the visitor section first, before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe you got us tickets.
Me too. Wait, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Make a move into a home of your own.
With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Stories are power. The Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project is an effort to collect, preserve, and amplify stories of Black land loss. It will form an invaluable resource for scholars, authors, historians, educators, storytellers, policymakers, and change agents who wrestle with issues of restitution, reparations, racial inequality in home ownership, and the racial wealth gap. Through documenting stories of Black land loss, the archive will help demonstrate the magnitude of what Black families have lost and will continue the national dialogue to encourage paths to restitution, rebuilding, and healing. Support the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project by visiting www.blacklandlost.org or by donating at www.blacklandlost.org/donate. Spread the word to inspire awareness, activism, leadership, and change. And join us in making a lasting impact. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one. He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Connie Rice, in case you've just tuned in, this story about Signal Gate is taking a different turn. The administration, it appears, and let me be clear, I'm not saying this stuff is coming from the administration as yet, but their fingerprints are all over this. I've been at this long enough, as has Connie, to know where this stuff emanates from. And so here's how this story is going to work if they succeed with it. They're pulling Mr. Wong into this. They're pulling in his wife, Candace Wong. They're trying to make the argument that they have Hong Kong connections. You got that right? Did you catch that? They have China connections, or as Trump would say, China. So they've got China connections, and you can see how this story starts to take this most bizarre turn. But it's all because they are looking for somebody to hang out to dry. And at the moment, it appears that Mr. Alex Wong may be that person. I digress for now. Connie, again, the story is just developing, but what do you make of the frame, to use your word?
Is reaching for Xanax time. These folks are approaching Monty Python levels of absurdity.
Yeah.
Listen, this is not DEI. This is OBI, old boy incompetence, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is about him hiring his real estate agent, a chronic drunk talk show host to head DOD, and they're going to blame it on, let's get into their racist stereotypes for a minute. They couldn't find somebody black to find, so they're going to blame it on two Asians. The stereotype about Asians is that they're all tech savvy, right?
That's right.
But on top of that, Tavis, Walls, I actually caught him on a clip from Fox News where he was doing an interview, and he said no less than 3 times, no, I take full responsibility.
That's right.
I did this thread. I did this text thread.
That's right.
I did this signal thread. Okay, I did this. I put the numbers in. He didn't know how Jeffrey Goldberg, the journalist number, got on there, but he said that's being investigated. So I guess this is what the investigation came up with. So now he's got to backtrack on it. Tavis, it tells you how scared they are of this. But I'll tell you something, nothing's going to happen with this. But what do you expect when you've got incompetence and criminality and loyalty as the main criteria for being in this cabinet? I have never seen a cabinet like this, a presidential cabinet. I mean, the puppy killer is just the cherry on the cake, right?
Yeah.
So you've got 2 sex traffickers nominated, you have chronic drunks, a Russia sympathizer, and a puppy killer, and they're going to yell about black people and meritocracy, and now Asian people. It's too absurd.
Yeah. And the puppy killer, of course, that Connie's referencing, bright audience, they get it. I don't need to explain it, but for those who may have missed it, the puppy killer would be RFK Jr., who runs the Health and Human Services Department. There's news out of that department today. They're about to lay off 10,000 HHS workers. Here we are, just days away, essentially, from a pandemic, and we just went through a holiday season where the numbers were off the charts once again, and they now have announced that they're laying off 10,000 workers inside HHS. We may get to that. It's just, again, there's so much stuff on the docket today. But one other question on this kind of, we'll move forward, because there's another story that I think we have missed this week, covering Signalgate, as we should, because that was a serious breach, and we will see if anybody's held responsible. But just say a word about the extent that they will go to cover their own behinds.
Well, when you have to hide what you're really doing with a whole bunch of distraction and a fire hose of lies, a fire hose of executive orders, that most of which are unconstitutional, illegal, you have to lift the veil and figure out, what is all this for? What is all this strum and drum and smoke and mirrors, and what is all this about? All the cat laser stuff. And DEI is a cat laser. You know how you point a laser and a cat goes over where the red dot is, and it doesn't exist? That's what DEI is. That's what the attacks on trans people are. That's what it's like. Look over here, look over here. But meanwhile, what are they really doing? To me, the curtain, we need to have a very, very cold and clear eye on what all of this is about. First, he goes into the Pentagon, clears that out, and puts Dumb and Dumber in there, who will follow all of his illegal orders. Then he gets rid of the inspectors general. Then he shuts down all the data. He creates DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and gives Musk a chainsaw. Then he corrupts the DOJ, so they're going to pull the plug. They exonerate all of the violent insurrectionists, let them loose, join the militias. They weaponize the IRS. They completely cow Congress, make Congress lay down. They're attacking the courts. They're shutting down departments. All of this is to crush down the government so that it cannot respond to what they really want to do, which is Project 2025 is a blueprint for installing autocracy. Tavis, you and I talked about this. They're going back to the Civil War. It felt like 1865. I know we had a couple of conversations.
Sure.
I was wrong. They're going back to 1776. They want a king. They want to end the democracy. Now, I think there's going to be, we can talk about this later, but I think there is going to be a huge backlash, and we saw it already in a special election where a Trump district that went for 16 points in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, elected a Democrat for the first time in 30 years. So I'm hoping that the grassroots rises up, and I'm hoping that the attacks on the courts fail. They're actually talking about pulling the plug on the D.C. district courts. Because, where Judge Tutkin was.
That's right.
Is because the courts keep coming out with injunctions stopping them from shutting down departments, firing federal workers, attacking our personal data and giving it to Elon Musk and his teenage sociopaths. And all of those injunctions from courts, Trump came out and said, we cannot have courts that do this. So now they're looking at pulling the plug on the actual district court. So what you're seeing is a full metal jacket, 360-degree attack on all the infrastructure and institutions. That doesn't even count the attacks on the universities, the attacks on the civil. I mean, Tavis, they took the D.C. police, these Doge techiopaths, took the D.C. police and invaded the Urban Peace Institute, the Institute of Peace Studies. It's a private organization. They actually broke and entered with D.C. police as their accomplices into private organizations. They are outlaws, and they are out to destroy what's left of our constitutional order.
Before I move on, excuse me, if you want to read more about this developing story regarding Alex Wong, again, that's his name, Alex Wong. Google it and read more for yourself. But I wanted to make sure that you were up to speed, as I am, trying to stay up to speed on the way this story is developing and who they're going to blame for this complete and utter meltdown, this huge mistake made, again, by one of their golden boys, Mr. Walls, who, as Connie said earlier, initially said he took full responsibility. Well, if you took full responsibility, then why are we seeing this your young staffer, Mr. Wong, being thrown under the bus today? I'll leave that alone for now, but Google it and read more about it for yourself. So kind of just ran a long list, a litany of things that this administration is doing to take us back to 1776 and crown Donald Trump king. They want a monarchy, not a democracy. But here's a story that we didn't get to earlier this week. I didn't miss the story. I flagged it, and I waited to get to this story today because I knew that Connie Rice was going to be on today, brilliant attorney, in this first hour. And so I held this to get to it today, but I want to make sure that you did not miss this story this week, on top of all the other things that Donald Trump is doing. So on Tuesday, Trump signed another one of these executive orders, this one requiring people to provide documents proving they are citizens when they register to vote. A mandate that many experts believe will prevent millions of Americans from voting. This has been an issue that Republicans have been advancing in red states for some time now. In red states, they've been advancing legislation requiring people to provide documents when they vote. It's had a chilling effect in many of these red states. But Donald Trump has now taken it to the federal level. You recall he has had baseless claims in 2016 and 2020 that those elections were riddled with fraud and illegal voting by non-citizens. There is no evidence of any of that, but those are the claims that Trump made in 2016 and 2020. As I said, Republicans in dozens of states have been trying for decades now to require voters to present identification to cast ballots. But Trump doing this now as an executive order, a mandate to provide proof of citizenship to register to vote at the federal level is a whole nother order. And clearly, to my mind, Connie, this is unlawful. I haven't talked to anybody who thinks it isn't. But it's just another tool in the toolbox that he is reaching for to try to turn this democracy, this experiment in democracy, upside down. I saved this for you, Connie, so take it away.
Well, they have to attack the people who don't vote for them. That's why they attack all of the Voting Rights Act. What's left of the Voting Rights Act after the Supreme Court took a hatchet to it in the Shelby case. The reason that you don't want to have people looking for their birth certificates or driver's licenses to bring to register to vote is that the process of registering to vote already takes that away. That you already done that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks don't have driver's licenses. Some older, like my grandmother, my grandmother could not produce her birth certificate. Some of my grandparents were born in tobacco fields. They didn't issue birth certificates. Laid down and gave birth. You didn't have birth certificates. A lot of rural people don't have their birth certificates, and they don't drive. Urban folks, I know a whole bunch of folks in Manhattan who've never owned a car, don't have a driver's license, and they use their passport money. But the point is, why are you putting more hurdles up for people to get to? We don't have a problem of too many people voting. We have a problem with too few people voting. And in Europe, if you once you're registered, you shouldn't have to sign up for every election. You shouldn't have to prove over and over again why you are eligible to vote. Once you're eligible, what do you need to have registration for if you can show that you're eligible? You've already done it. Mm-hmm. So this is a way of making it more difficult for people who don't participate, for people who are discouraged from voting. And it's not just African Americans who are protected by the Voting Rights Act. So I think it's all Americans. And I think that they keep putting hurdles up because the fewer people who vote, that's what ensures their power. Because the more people who vote, the more people who don't agree with their ideas come to the polls. That's why they attack Democrats and black voters in particular, because we are the most solid block of votes for the party that doesn't go along with their agenda.
There's no doubt here that this is part of Trump's agenda overall to expand executive power, Connie, and he hopes and believes that with regard to many of these moves he's making, the Supreme Court will allow it. I had an expert on earlier this week who made a powerful point, again, that I've been waiting to get to you to take your temperature on. And his view was that the Supreme Court is only going to mess with Donald Trump, or only going to try to hold him accountable in certain arenas. In the spaces where the executive branch has complete authority or control, they're going to leave him alone. In other areas that really encroach upon their power, they will push back. This is one of those areas where he has control. He's already ordered the Election Assistance Commission, an agency governed by statute, to change the federal voter registration form. He's already ordered them to change the form to require government-issued documentary proof of citizenship when you vote in a federal election, e.g., running for president. But the point I'm pressing toward here is your view on the way the Supreme Court is going to handle or not handle. They really don't want a constitutional crisis with Donald Trump. So in the areas where they can back off, they're going to let him have his way. And only when they are convinced that he's encroaching a little too far in areas that they control, where they have the power, will they actually step up. This is one of those things where they may yield, speaking of bending the knee, to Donald Trump.
I think that's mostly right, Tavis. I would maybe make it a little finer point.
Sure.
I think that they're going to allow him carte blanche. He can do whatever he wants in the areas that are totally under his control. I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
As long as what he does in those areas of control doesn't violate existing laws that he's subject to or violates the constitutional order. Mm-hmm. For example, I don't know if the Supreme Court is going to say he can actually eliminate entire departments that Congress passed specific legislation to create, endow, and fund. Okay? I don't know if they're going to allow him to fire inspectors general, for example, that have congressional legislation that created those oversight bodies or inspectors general positions, and they were specifically charged with political independence. They can't be fired except for cause or malfeasance, and it's attached to legislation that comes from Congress's constitutionally mandated powers. I don't know that they're going to say thumbs up to that.
Hold that thought, Connie. Let's talk more when we come forward here about what you think the Supreme Court is going to allow Donald Trump to get away with and not allow him to get away with. But this one appears to be in the category where they'll let Trump slide, demanding proof of citizenship in federal elections. Much more to cover with Connie Rice when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on where you buy.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump downplayed the Signal chat leak about U.S. attacks on the Houthis, calling it a witch hunt and expressing faith in his intelligence community. The Atlantic published screenshots showing strike times due to a reporter's inclusion in the chat. Tempers flared in the Tennessee House as Black Democrat Representative Justin Pearson and Republican Andrew Farmer clashed during a gun legislation meeting. Pearson charged at Farmer after a heated exchange, and they had to be separated. Dollar Tree is selling Family Dollar to 2 private equity firms for about $1 billion. The deal, expected to close in 90 days, will help Dollar Tree focus on its growth and profitability. Family Dollar has faced past criticism for worsening food insecurity and stifling economic growth in low-income, often Black communities. And Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show received over 120 FCC complaints, mainly about his language and lack of white performers. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Would you like your community to be recognized as a beautiful and clean place to live? Help the place you love become a designated Clean California community. Take the pledge today at cleanca.com. 0 litter is the goal.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a good night on the road for both of LA's NBA teams. LeBron tipped in a missed shot by Luka Doncic at the buzzer to lift the Lakers to a 120-119 win at Indiana. The win snapped the Lakers' 3-game losing streak. Doncic led the Lakers with 34 points and 7 assists. The Lakers are at Chicago tonight. The Clippers rolled into Madison Square Garden in New York City and beat the Knicks 126-113. James Harden had 29 points and 6 assists. Kawhi Leonard dropped 27 points. The win moved the Clippers into a tie for 6th place with Golden State. The first 6 teams in the conference are assured of a playoff spot. The Clippers, 6-1 in their last 7 games, are at Brooklyn Friday night. Magic Johnson, a part owner of the Dodgers, has yet to confirm if he'll join the team for their White House visit on April 7th. President Trump invited the Dodgers to the White House to celebrate their World Series championship last season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
On January 7th, 2025, the Eaton Canyon Fire scorched Altadena, torching everything in its path. Homes, wealth, and legacy burned in one night. But will Altadena rise from the ashes? I'm James Farr. On the Conversation Live Altadena Rising, we're chronicling the recovery, the resilience, and justice for the nation. This is the show of record. Unapologetically progressive. We're not blacking down. So join me, James Farr, on the Conversation Live Altadena Rising every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific with the rebroadcast on Sunday at noon.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less, of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Testing.
We're live from Chick-fil-A.
This is Grant.
And this is Laura.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that sweet bun.
And that chicken filet was perfectly crispy and soft at the same time.
And that Smokehouse Barbecue sauce, it's a lot of fun. And the brown sugar bacon definitely had a little bit more pizzazz. Also, the Mac, one of the all-time greats. Man, I'm getting hungry.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and our Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Connie Rice. Connie, you were making a point, actually responding to a question I posed about what the Supreme Court you think ultimately in the days ahead is going to allow and not allow Donald Trump to get away with. We were talking, in case you just tuned in, talking about Trump signing earlier this week an executive order requiring proof of citizenship in federal elections. I tagged this story earlier this week, waiting on Connie Rice to show up now that she has. Connie, finish your point about the frame that you think we are in with regard to what they will let him do and not do.
I think you're right on the voting rights decision because it's too close to call. They've so hacked up and destroyed the Voting Rights Act infrastructure that the lawsuits that challenge this might have a chance of succeeding, but once it gets to the Supreme Court, I think you're right. I think that they'll let this one go. Which means, Tavis, we're just going to have to get our documents. You know, they made us count jelly beans.
Yeah.
They put coal taxes.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. African Americans, we have been dealing with this for, forever. Since we were kidnapped and brought to the shores. So we're just gonna have to, whatever hurdles they do, we clear them.
Yep. I mentioned at the top of the show that in our third hour today, we're talking to a philosopher. I enjoy talking to philosophers with some regularity on this program because I just love the way their minds work and the way they see the world, which is different, of course, for each philosopher. But I just love getting a little deep in these conversations with these philosophers. But let me just get philosophical with you for just a second. It just occurs to me that you're the right person, of course, to raise this with. What say you, broadly speaking, Connie, about the ways in which all of these moves by Donald Trump are fundamentally changing the way we do democracy?
Oh, we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
It's already been changed, Tavis. Look at how universities are shrinking and bending the knee.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how corporations who were popping champagne corks when he won, thinking our taxes are going to be lowered and deregulation is going to, regulation is going to go out the window. So you see him attacking all of these institutions. He's politicized DOJ. They've taken chainsaws to these institutions that uphold democracy. I don't know that we can put the stuff back together. Can you put Humpty Dumpty back together
again? Yeah.
We're already sicker, dumber, poorer, and deader after the pandemic because of America decided to go with stupid. This is what stupid looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the voters who have looked at both parties as basically engineering their downward mobility over the last 70 years since Reagan, that both parties are culpable, and therefore we're going to go with the party that kicks the people we don't like.
Yeah.
So they're both messing with us economically. They've both made us poorer. So let's go with the ones who make us feel better because we don't like what women are doing, we don't like what people of color are doing, we don't like the way the culture's going. And that's how they weaponize the culture to get them to make votes that are actually against their economic interests, which they're going to find out when Social Security gets gutted. For those of you who have a mother-in-law on Medicare, Medicaid, assisted living, clear off your couch. Because once they get done, she's coming home.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, Tavis, I think we've already seen fundamental structural damage done from his first term, from the failure of our political representatives to counter him during the time he was out, and from the much more than what the Democrats are doing from a Republican Party that has just crumbled. There is no Republican Party. You have a MAGA Party. And it is a fundamentally destructive, grenade-throwing, just burn it down. We've got arsonists burning down the house and saying, see, the house doesn't exist. Let's put in privatization, autocracy, and let's get rid of this system. So we're not at a point of no return at all. We're still in the fight. On the front lines, the courts. The court, you've got almost every single executive order of consequence, birthright, citizenship, snatching citizens up and green card holders and even undocumented immigrants, shipping them to El Salvador. You realize that if he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act, which was the Japanese Internment Act, if he declares that any of us is a warrior against the country, he can snatch any of us up and without a hearing. It's like the judge said, even when we swept up Nazis in the country during World War II, when we were at a declared war, where you could use the enemy, where you could use this act to snatch citizens up, even they had a hearing.
Exactly.
So bottom line, Tavis, we're already, he's not bending, he's breaking.
Yeah. And
we're going to have to fight back. It's not just, when I say we, I'm not talking about African Americans. We've done what we can do. Sure. This is about GOP voters, the people who voted against Liz Cheney, who haven't gone to the delusion world and the liosphere completely, but who are still reality-based and rational and can see what it means even they can see what's happening. And they're the ones who are going to have to rise up. So from the streets, from the courts, from organizing, you see the kind of thing that Cornel West and AOC and Bernie Sanders are doing, the Fighting Oligarchy tour. You saw 30,000 people in Denver.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen those town halls. People are mad, and they can see. Now, they weren't mad when they thought the damage was being done to people they don't like, but now that the damage is being done to them, they will. I'm counting on the grassroots rising up. I'm counting on enough of the courts to hold and enough of the Supreme Court. You are absolutely right. The Supreme Court is not going to give thumbs up to the executive branch attacking it and attacking its powers.
That's right.
So I think you're absolutely right there. And that right now, those are the spike strips.
Yeah.
You got to hope that they puncture enough of the Cybertruck tires to slow it down.
And that's why, as I said the other day, that nothing seemed to matter to John Roberts until, underline that 5 times, until Trump started talking about impeaching judges, federal judges. Yeah. Then John Roberts, his ire got up slightly and he puts out a public statement, a rare thing for him to do. But other than that, with John Roberts' support, I add once again, they have wiped away the rights of everybody else. But only when Trump started messing with the judicial branch did John Roberts get his back up. I digress on that for now. Let me ask another question. And you've said something a moment ago about the good white folk that I want to come back to. I heard it. The audience heard it. I'm going to circle back to that in just a second about their responsibility, the good white folk in this moment. But one quick question here before I move to that. And that is, what kind of precedent you think this sets for trampling on the Constitution?
It paves the way.
Yeah.
It greases the skid.
Yeah.
We're all in the abattoir now. We're all the cattle going down the chute.
Yeah.
And they just put grease on the chute. So all of this is paving the way for what Project 2025 said they were going to do, which is to dismantle the legal, constitutional, financial, all of the infrastructure that upholds the current constitutional order that gives us the freedoms that we have. I know a lot of folks don't have a lot of freedom. We're talking about some of our communities, but that we have a framework. That framework is being torpedoed, and I think that it's being done in such an obvious way. When you've got a gold chainsaw, it's pretty obvious. Even Ray Charles could have seen that. So I think that even white people who have gone into the magosphere can see this, and that's what we're going to have to. Yeah. That's what we're going to have to hope.
Connie puts her finger on something that I think is fascinating that I want to give her a chance to unpack a bit more when we come forward, and that is this notion that, to my mind, and my read of history suggests to me that black people have stepped up time and time again to save this democracy from itself. Or to put it as Dr. King would say, to help redeem the soul of America. Time and time again, we've done our part to redeem the soul of America, to save this experiment in democracy from itself. We are now at a point where we've done our part, and the good white folk are going to have to step up and stop Mr. Trump. We'll talk about that part that Connie raises. I'm fascinated by that. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You've lost so much weight. How'd you do it?
I got medical treatment for weight loss through Zelty and lost 50 pounds. I struggled for the longest time, but Zelty makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelty providers can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight, like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others.
I've heard those medications can help you lose weight, but aren't they expensive?
Zelty can help get the medication covered by insurance, so it's as little as $0 a month.
What if you don't have insurance?
No problem. Zelty may be able to help you get other GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% off the price of name brand medications.
I'm ready to start losing weight. How do I get started with Zelty?
Just text.
Text SUNNY to 200-300 to get started today with Zelty and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text SUNNY to 200-300. That's SUNNY to 200-300. SUNNY to 200-300.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Connie, I quoted King a moment ago talking about our effort, our track record, frankly, of doing our part to redeem the soul of America. I'm also thinking of another King quote that our destiny as a people is inextricably linked together. And I respect that. And yet, the point you made earlier got me thinking about the fact that, again, we've done our part time and time again to rescue this democracy, as it were. But I'm not sure if that's our sole responsibility at this moment. And your comment, as I would phrase about the good white folk, got my attention. Tell me more.
You're absolutely right. But we're redeeming the soul of America to save ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're the only people in this Cobb salad of tribes that the United States is. We're the only tribe that knows pure American tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
That's what slavery was. Slaveocracy was total tyranny. And so, Native Americans experienced total conquest and attempted annihilation. We experienced total tyranny. So because we understand totalitarianism, we will do anything not to go back to that. We're trying not to go back to 1619. Mm-hmm. They may want to go back to 1776. We have always fought that battle knowing that as the target in a slaveocracy and a system that was built on a pillar, many other pillars, some of which were good, but one of the pillars was anti-blackness. And when you're in a system like that, you have to maintain the mechanisms and the levers and the processes that helped you get to this point, from slavery to this point. It's slow. It's called perfecting the Union. It's what Obama used to talk about, perfecting the Union. Mm-hmm. That's the area of the Constitution that allowed us to not get completely annihilated in slavery. We fought. We did our own liberation movements with the Quakers and the abolitionists, fought the Civil Rights Revolution, changed this country fundamentally that way. Our battles have made America what it is in terms of a free society. Without the battles of African Americans to free themselves from slavery, we wouldn't have the 14th Amendment, which is what makes the Constitution applicable to most citizens, most of whom are white. So all of this to say, Tavis, that we always do more than our part. Our tonnage way outweighs our mass, okay? Yeah. Because our survival depends on it. But we've never been able to do it alone, to your point. Never done it alone. We were freed by a man who believed in white superiority. Lincoln was a white supremacist. Mm-hmm. He issued the Emancipation Order. So I've always said, look, I could sign my own reparations check. We're complicated, okay? Yeah. Coming out of slavery, we are what we are, and it is complicated. But we have always played more than our role, and the reason is just for self-survival. It's not to help white people or anything else. It's not because we particularly believe in this system, but we know that there are much worse systems.
Yeah.
And so to your point, for this particular, we're in a frame. We are now in a frame where we have to have more white people stepping up. We've done more than we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Latino, we've done more than any other group, even other groups of color. Yep. Okay, and over half of white women voted for a man who's a digital rapist.
That's right.
Okay? You know what I mean? So we're not on our own, but we're in a frame where they have to step up.
We have always been, as I prefer to say, we've always been the litmus test. But now it's time for them to take our playbook. We taught everybody else in this country how to protest. We taught this nation how to protest. And it's time for them to take our playbook and step up their game. I digress on that for now. In our remaining moments with Connie Rice, you heard Connie reference the puppy killer earlier. RFK Jr. at the HHS Department, Health and Human Services, has announced they're going to cut 10,000 jobs, including at the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. And they're going after programs like gun violence prevention. Ouch. Our remaining moments with Connie Rice when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Life blooms in beautiful ways. The Afia Center invites you to celebrate At the End with Red Gala, honoring the strength and resilience of Black women living with HIV. Join us for an evening of empowerment as we launch the Barbara Cambridge Scholarship and kick off Herstory Month with our theme, Life in Full Bloom. Your support helps create vital HIV programming and builds a future where every voice is heard and every story matters. The End with Red Gala, because every flower deserves to bloom. To learn more and to donate, visit theafiacenter.org.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
So, Connie Rice, is this the answer to the prayer to be cutting 10,000 full-time jobs under HHS, many at the Centers for Disease Control and targeting programs focused on global health, domestic HIV prevention from injuries such as gun violence. Is that the way we ought to be headed?
Of course not. I guess they've decided to make polio great again.
Yeah.
make measles great. We're in the middle of a measles outbreak.
Exactly.
Tavis, we conquered measles the last century. They're bringing it back. They're bringing measles back. So cutting out, you know what this is really about? They don't want the data reported. Do you remember when the COVID pandemic outbreak came? His first instinct was to deny that it happened because his son-in-law told him it's not good for your reelection. So they don't want, they've cut out the data centers. That's one of the things that caught my attention. If you don't have the data for the financial, forecasts, you don't have the data for the outbreaks of disease, you don't have the data for gun violence, you can pretend it's not a problem. Well, where's the data? They killed it. So this is part of the Project 2025. You get rid of get rid of the people who are checks on your abuses, like inspectors general, and you get rid of the data. You get rid of the scientists. That's what all of this is about. You want RFK, and I remember, Tavis, RFK is the one with the dead bear cub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
RFK Jr. and Christy Noem's the one who's the puppy killer.
Yeah.
So you got both of them in the cabinet. So this attack on the CDC is part of the lesson they learned from the pandemic. If you don't track how many people are dying from a disease, you don't need to declare that it's a pandemic, right? You can do what Russia does. We don't have a pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's what this is all about. And RFK Jr., who has been against vaccines and is just kind of rattled from all the LSD he's done, he's getting there. He's going to slash and burn that department too.
Yeah, I'm glad Connie corrected me. See how smooth she did that? That was smooth, wasn't it? That was so smooth. I love Connie Rice. They've got so many dysfunctional people in this cabinet. I kept referring to RFK Jr. as the puppy killer. No, he's the bear cub killer. He was the one with the bear cub. It was Christy Noem who was the puppy killer. And I just that was smooth, Connie. I just loved it. She didn't want to just come out and say, Tavis, no, you're wrong. You got the wrong person. RFK Jr. is the bear cub. Christy Noem is the puppy killer. But I just love how respectful she was, the way she did that. That's why I love Connie Rice. Connie, I thank you, and that's why I have you here. We'll do it again, and if I make a mistake next time, please correct me again as smoothly as you did that time.
Tavis, love you. You take care. Thank you for everything you do.
Love you, Connie. Thank you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump downplayed the Signal chat leak about U.S. attacks on the Houthis, calling it a witch hunt and expressing faith in his intelligence community.